again, everybody. I'm Todd Rossnagel, Director of Communications for the Louisiana Conference. Thanks so much for joining us. Normally, when we produce these videos, they've been hurricane updates and hurricane recovery updates. But today, we wanted to come on the air and share news about annual conference, which is going to be happening in November. It's right around the corner. And so we need to start talking about our time together for annual conference. And to help us unpack all that will be 2020 annual conference is Bishop Cynthia Fierro Harvey, who joins us now. Bishop Harvey, thanks so much for carving time out of your busy schedule to talk about what will be our first ever virtual annual conference. There's always a time, I guess, to have a first of something. And here we are with a virtual annual conference that will be held on Zoom with a Zoom webinar. What are your thoughts of having a virtual annual conference?
Who would have ever thunk it, right? But I think we're actually getting pretty good at these Zoom meetings. So probably fitting that we move to a Zoom virtual annual conference. With COVID, we are so limited on the number of people we can put in a room and the number of people that feel comfortable being in a room with, say, 1,000 people, because that's about what usually comes together for annual conference. We feel it probably wouldn't be responsible of us to try to do that. So we're going to do this virtually. We have been working on this for quite a while. The good news is that there are lots of other annual conferences that have been practicing before us. So we're learning all that we can from those who have gone before us. And by November 21st, we're going to have this thing perfected, at least as best we can. So I think this is the most responsible thing that we can do during this time. It will not replace all of us being together, shaking hands, hugging one another, taking our usual photos that we take at annual conference. But I think it's the next best thing that we can do in order to get the business of the annual conference done.
And just so everyone knows at home, you can head to our website, la-umc.org, for more information on Annual Conference 2020. You'll see the registration link, which will be coming soon. You'll get a closer look at the agenda, which is a focused, shortened agenda for our time together online. The pre-conference report is online as well. Frequently asked questions and training dates, because we will have training sessions for some of our time together. But Bishop, I wanted to go back maybe to the agenda. I know it's shortened and focused for our time together online, but there are also some moments that we always celebrate during annual conference, and we will be doing the same again this year.
Absolutely. And let me just say about the business sessions. We're going to cover the essentials of the annual conference, the things that we have to do. What we've also learned, and all of you have learned, that you can't sit in a Zoom meeting for very long. So we're going to be on as long as we need to get the essential business of the annual conference accomplished. So budgets, nominations, those sorts of things that have to happen. We'll have worship. We will have ordination. Actually, ordination will happen the week before, and people will have an opportunity to kind of sneak peek some stuff into that night, that evening in earlier November, and then we'll have some highlights of that. We will honor our retirees. We will honor those who have died in very meaningful worship, because now one thing that we've learned from all of our churches is we've learned how to do great worship online. If you remember in the beginning of the pandemic, none of us had ever done this quite this way before, but you have learned, and now we have learned from you, how to do meaningful worship in an abbreviated time frame and really accomplish what we want to accomplish in that time that we have allotted for worship. So we will honor retirees. We will honor those who have died. We will highlight those who were ordained and commissioned. So all of those important components and what I could consider milestones or, markers that occur at every annual conference, they will occur at this annual conference in a very meaningful but abbreviated way.
We also want to mention that as folks begin to register for annual conference, we recognize that there may be some technological problems for some folks out there, specifically for some areas of the state that may not have internet connections. And so we recognize that inside the registration process, which will be coming soon, will be an opportunity for you to kind of raise a red flag that you might need help with that going forward. And so we're here to help you as best we can as you enter into the registration process. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that that's important. Bishop, go ahead.
Let me just say something about training, because I think that'll be important. There'll be opportunities, several, for all of us to train on how to get on, how to vote, how to raise our hand if we need to say something, all those sorts of things. That's all going to be part of the training. And there'll be several training opportunities, as I understand. And so my suggestion is don't wait till the last training. Go to the first or the second training in case you might need to go to the third and the fourth training. I know that I'm going to sit in on a couple because I kind of understand this process, but I want to really be sure. So I'm going to say, don't wait till the last training at the last minute. Take the opportunity to take the first or second training and decide whether you need additional training because that'll make all the difference in the world. And if I could add that we're not winging this ourselves. We are working with someone, a company that has done, I don't know how many, 40 something annual conferences by the time we get to 2 hours. So those folk know what they're doing and they'll be doing the training, not us. So you will get to know firsthand from the people who are actually running the show, how to actually be a part of this. So please watch for that. And then I realize that still, like in the Lake Charles area, internet's still spotty and those sorts of things. We do have ways for you to be on. So again, the training's really important. When you go to the registration, that'll be important. We want to make sure that everybody's got access to this. But the way you have access is to do all the things that we ask you to do so that we know that you are assured the access.
And Bishop, I was going to ask one of the highlights, there's so many highlights during our time together during an annual conference. But one of the highlights is, of course, the Episcopal address. And you will be delivering an Episcopal address to us during annual conference. And it's how do you summarize the past year in one address? I'm sure there's a lot going through your mind.
There is. And usually my Episcopal address is about 50 minutes or so. And nobody wants to sit in front of a Zoom and listen to me for 50 minutes. So I am abbreviating that as well. And there's so much going on that I'm going to have to just stick to the script because it's going to be important that it be succinct so that it doesn't go on and on. Same with the ordination service, that sermon. So all of these kind of speaking opportunities, preaching opportunities are going to have to be abbreviated. So I'm working hard. I actually have all of these little Post-it notes and little pieces of paper right now. And I'm sure it's going to come together beautifully at some point. But right now it's still cooking. It's still on the stove. But it will be abbreviated. Again, nobody wants to sit and listen to me for 50 minutes.
Well, we are praying for you because we know that there's a lot has happened since we last gathered together in Shreveport last summer. So we're praying for you because we know that there is a lot to say, and we trust that the Holy Spirit will move through you. So one other thing I wanted to ask you about, and you did mention this briefly, but just to reiterate to folks that we are trying our very best to make this the worship moments online as meaningful as we can. And this will be in some sense interactive. There will be some things that even the person at home who are watching will be able to interact. And so we're trying to make this as interactive as possible, without it being, turn your camera on and interrupt the room.
Right. I mean, we're going to ask you to actually bring some things with you to our time of worship so that you can set up your own sacred space. And some of you've learned to do that Sunday after Sunday as you've gone to church, sitting in your living room. So we're going to ask you. So again, you got to make sure that you stay in touch and read everything, because we're going to ask you to bring a stone, for example, a candle, maybe a bowl of water, some of those sacred pieces that are part of our altar each time. But we're going to ask you to build your own altar and your own sacred space, and maybe take a picture of it, and we can hashtag it and put it out there so people can see what your sacred spaces might be looking like as we all enter into this time. But there will be some things that we ask everyone to bring to, as this is our third installment of our three-part theme. If you remember, 3 years ago, we began with making disciples, transforming the world together in love, day after day after day. As I think about this theme, particularly for this year, day after day after day, I can't think of a more appropriate theme given where we are as a church, as the world, as a community, to know that God is with us yesterday, today, and day after day after day after day. With all that is in front of us, all that's been behind us, I'm hoping that we can focus on the future, but with focus on the future with the confidence that God has been with us, is with us, and will continue to be with us day after day after day. We couldn't have planned this any better.